So if everyone's ready, let's start. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome here to this great event. I'm very honored that I'm giving the presentation today on the future of transport. My name is Tineke Bakker from Veen, T for short. And I'm the former managing director of Boeing for Northern Europe. I actually founded my own company beginning of this year, where I'm trying to help tech companies work on innovation, on crisis management, on government affairs, and also, of course, on a sustainable organization. And with a sustainable organization, I mean, what does it take to ensure that your people perform at their best? What makes them be excited? What makes the team work at its best? And I try to help those companies with my expertise. I've worked in the aerospace industry for over 15 years, and I'm also an aerospace engineer by heart, which is probably pretty obvious from the plane that you see in the background here. I'm also a mom of 2 kids, Daniel and Nora, 10 and 8, and I'm excited to share today with you my vision on the future of transport. So let me take you back to 1982. You might not believe it, but actually this is me in the picture, age 2. Right now, you can figure out my age, 39, turning 40 end of the year. And what you see here on the picture is me with my mom and grandmother actually at Schiphol Airport, spotting planes on a Sunday afternoon, having a really nice ice cream and just enjoying the view of planes taking off, which for me at that point in time was already something magical. I've never had envisioned to become an aerospace engineer at that point in time. Also in 1982, if we look back, there was no email, there was no smartphone. A lot of the things that we take for granted right now were not in place yet. And nowadays, who can live without their smartphone or without internet? If internet breaks down, then everyone goes like, oh, hang on a minute, what do I do today? So you can imagine that in 1982, we also had no idea clearly of what the aerospace industry was going to look like today. And that's what I'm trying to share with you today, is what have we learned from the past, but also how do we see the future and how do we deal with what currently is going on. If we look at market developments, and my apologies for the typo, there are 4 different categories that we need to take into consideration. All the big aircraft producers like Boeing and Airbus do a yearly forecast where they try to look forward 20 years, and Boeing has been doing so for more than 50 years. And when they look at those forecasts, they look at market developments in 4 categories. One is geopolitical situations that are ongoing at present, but also what are changes that we might be expecting in the future. So for instance, as you might see nowadays, is the development within the European Union, but also elections that go on globally, of course, situations of war or tension in certain countries or between countries are the things that they try to take into consideration when it comes to market developments. The second topic is sustainability. Sustainability is something that is in the DNA of every aerospace engineer and the aerospace industry. We have to ensure that every single day we work our utmost to ensure that we improve the performance of a plane on a day-to-day basis, not just for CO2 and emissions, but when we also think, of course, of noise, but also the comfort of the passenger, what does the customer need in future, but also how do we ensure that the entire supply chain is as sustainable as possible. And also from a people perspective, how do we ensure that we have a sustainable industry? And this is something we've been doing for years. And what a lot of people don't know is that if the car industry would have been as innovative on the field of sustainability as the aerospace industry, no one would be driving a car using petrol nowadays. But it's just something that is not that well known from the aerospace industry. The third category that we look at is growth and population. We look at the global developments And where do we see shifts? Where do we see growth? Where do we see growth in prosperity? For instance, if we look at China, what we're seeing there is the middle class is slowly getting more funding available to them, and therefore having more opportunity to travel. And if you take into consideration that only roughly 5% of the global inhabitants actually have traveled by plane up till now, there is still a lot of growth potential. And also, if you consider that middle class of China, that means millions of people, you can imagine that we foresee a significant growth when it comes to traveling by airplane. And the fourth one is innovation. Of course, closely linked to sustainability, but nevertheless, we also need to ensure that apart from sustainability, we keep innovating our planes. That can mean things like changing the dimensions to ensure that we can either carry more passengers or make it available for a different kind of distance that operators would like to fly. So when we look at innovation, we work closely together with the customers, the airline operators, but also the airports, the regulators, to ensure, okay, what are the requests that we're seeing from those customers, those partners, and also what's going on in the supply chain? What are opportunities that we can collaborate on, or opportunities that we might be able to use for the future developments of innovation? And I don't want to make it death by PowerPoint or throw a lot of facts across, but I just wanted to share a couple of numbers that I always find very surprising or that I find very enlightening. So if you look at the aerospace industry, what we're seeing is that over the last 10 years, globally, we've added more than 7,000 new destinations. And that means that in the last 10 years, 7,000 new places to visit have been developed and are now available by air to reach. That is a significant number, and almost a number that is hard to actually grasp, at least when I saw the number for the first time for me. That also means that the global network of available flights has grown significantly. And what we're also seeing is that more and more long-haul flights, so those with that we mean flights that take a significant period of time, most of the times hours, in the last 10 years. What we're seeing is that not only more people are flying to newer destinations, but also what we're seeing is that people are flying more from one point to another instead of hopping from different city to different city. What the customer really wants is to have a direct flight, let's take from New York to Sydney, or let's say from Amsterdam to Dubai, or any combination that might be feasible and possible. We see that demand still growing, and that means that new routes have to be developed and new destinations are being mapped. Which of course means that we need more planes, but not just for passenger transport, but also for cargo, because especially in the situation that we're in right now, I'm absolutely guilty of ordering more packages than I've done in the last couple of months altogether right now, in those last couple of weeks, and very likely it's pretty much the same for you. And that's also what we see with people ordering more online, shopping more online. It is possible for now for everyone here to get products from across the globe, and of course for that we need cargo planes. So what we're seeing is a significant increase in also the cargo plane business. Let me just share with you a bit of growth. I won't go through all of the numbers, but what we're seeing is that the biggest growth potential that we're seeing in number of flights is definitely, and not surprisingly, in Asia. As I mentioned, there are multiple people who are getting a bit more access to funding, and we see an increase globally of more requests to travel. And this is, if we look at the forecast to 2038, because that is the yearly update that every aircraft producer does, both Airbus and Boeing. And I've used the Boeing data here, which you can also access on the Boeing website. you see that there is expected a very significant growth. But what does that growth mean physically in numbers for planes? Because of course that is important information for aircraft producers, but not only for the producers, but also for the supply chain, also for airports, and also for customers who are looking at their entire fleet and number of planes. In the next 20 years, we're expecting that we need more than 44,000 new airplanes to serve the requirement that is globally. That's a staggering number. About half of that number, so roughly 22,000 planes, we need to replace old ones. Basically because we sold them, handed them over to other customers, but basically, although they've gone through overhaul, they need to be replaced. And 22,000 new planes we need simply to meet the requirements that we're getting out of the market. Again, a staggering number, but that is the growth that we're expecting. And then now, of course, you might be thinking, okay, but in the situation that we're in today, how does it impact this industry and the future of transport? Well, I want to share this screenshot with you. It's two screenshots that I took. First one on the left-hand side, the 7th of March this year, and to the right, it was the 7th of April. And this is the impact of COVID-19 on the aviation industry. What you see in the left is a normal day, just a snapshot of Europe, and the activity. Every single yellow dot is a small aircraft that's operating at that point in time. Huge coverage, and it will not surprise you to learn that the second market next to the Asian market that is relevant if you look at the growth and the current operation for aircraft is Europe. It's not just trips from Europe to US or Europe to Asia, but also within Europe, there's a lot of transport ongoing, both cargo and passengers. But then COVID-19 hit all of us. And again, I hope that you're all safe and your loved ones are healthy. But this is indeed impacting the aviation business. And that's what you're seeing on the right. This was a screenshot on the 7th of April where we're seeing that a lot of planes were grounded, that a lot of countries closed their borders, and that mainly most of those planes were used for two different things. Either to repatriate people and bring them back home, or for cargo. Slowly now, what we're seeing is that different countries are opening up the borders again, taking into consideration, of course, the advice of the World Health Organization and the local authorities to see if we can open up safe transport again of people and cargo. But is there a hit in the aviation industry due to COVID-19? Absolutely. Does that make me pessimistic about this lovely industry that I'm so passionate about? No, it doesn't. Because what we've also learned from experiences like, unfortunately, 9/11 or the SARS virus is what we see in these kind of situations, that we see a dramatic hit in the industry, but we also see that it picks back up after some time, and it basically goes back to the growth trend that we're expecting. So I'm hopeful that taking into consideration all the health and safety concerns that we need to take to make sure that everyone is safe, that slowly in the future the aerospace growth will pick back up. And as I mentioned, the aircraft operators and producers are doing assessments every single year to look at what is the industry going to look like in the future to come. But we're not the only ones. I want to take you back to 1962 to the Jetsons, far before I was born. And some of you might have seen it. For some of you, it might not even be something that you've heard of before, but it was a cartoon. And it was on television here in the Netherlands in 1962. And they were visionaries. Because let me take you through what they foresaw for the future. First one, skyscrapers. 1962, they were expecting the future skyscrapers. Well, I think we can all safely say that, good guess. To the right, what we're also seeing is the use of robots and the father of the Jetson family already had an iPhone or something that looked similar to it, and an iWatch. So it is funny for us to look back in 1962 and see that actually they were not far off. The one thing that I could see that we're not using yet to date is personal aerial transport that is either by drone or UAV as we call it, or personal aerial vehicle, PAV. That is something that we're working on, but we're not doing yet as we speak. So if this was already the case in 1962 and now we're in 2020, what is the future going to look like? Knowing what we know, the facts and figures that I have shared with you, the fact that we're anticipating growth, and the fact that a lot of the guesses that we made in the past, like the Jetsons, were actually pretty accurate. On the aerospace industry, we're seeing two different streams of innovation. As I mentioned before, innovation is crucial, but we're seeing two significant differences: gradual innovation and radical innovation. On the left-hand side, you see in the black and white picture, the first plane that was ever delivered to KLM. Of course, close to home, I live about 15-minute drive from Schiphol Airport. And this is what the first plane looked like when KLM actually received it. On the bottom, you see the newest plane that they received, the 787 from Boeing. Is there a significant difference when you look on the outside of the plane? Not really radical innovation for that specific plane. The basics of the plane are pretty much the same. And yes, of course, we have increased the performance significantly by tens and tens of percentages. It's more efficient, less pollution, better control, also passenger appeal, but it's gradual, step by step, from that first plane to the 787 that they just received, step-by-step innovation. Then there's a different stream that we're also seeing in the aerospace industry, which is radical innovation. And that's, for instance, two examples that I just picked out. The Airbus A380, I actually worked on the engines for the aircraft. That is when the entire aerospace industry really made a drastic or radical innovation. All of a sudden, a double-decker plane where we were flying more than 400 people in one go. Another radical innovation where we really are taking things into the future, basically as the Jetsons expected in 1962, is a development that is being built in the Netherlands to the right bottom corner. This is meant to be a way for you and me to beat traffic, where this vehicle, which is licensed actually as a motorcycle, you can get trained with a couple of hours in their training center. And in drive on the road, right, certified, and when you hit the traffic, you go to a small strip, a small street, a small lane, and the idea of it is that it takes off and you fly to your destination. True radical innovation. Is it ready to operate now? No, because the legislation, of course, that keeps the entire industry safe is something that is not ready yet to deal with these kind of vehicles. But the first one is being delivered to customer this year, and they're starting their customer production on a specific product later this year, so that everyone who's interested can order. I also want to leave a bit of time for any questions that you might have. But if I look at the aerospace industry, I just wanted to share with you a couple of numbers and a couple of different opportunities that I'm seeing. Where do I believe the industry is hit by COVID-19? Absolutely. Do I feel that it's an amazing industry? Again, yes. I, close to my heart, can say that I still enjoy working in this industry every single day. And do we see challenges, either COVID-19 or by the growth that we're expecting? Absolutely. We have amazing people, and I always truly believe without people, there's nothing that we can accomplish. And do I feel that there are opportunities there that we can reach when we look into 2020 or beyond? Absolutely. And for me, I want to share with you my I would say, inspiration that I use for myself every single day. And it's actually a quote by Marilyn Monroe, where she once said, "The sky is not the limit, your mind is." And I truly believe that for everyone who is joining today, tomorrow, the day after, our Women Tech Network, this global conference, that if you put your mind to it, and although you might be faced with challenges or with obstructions, that if you put your mind to it and set that goal, that you're able to achieve it and absolutely get what you've got in mind. Will it be easy? Probably not. Will it be challenging? Very likely. But will it be rewarding? Absolutely. And I'm hoping that with the conference these days, that we and myself, I can help and contribute you to inspire others to be there to support each other, so we can all grow and develop and have an impact on each other and ourselves. With that, if you would like to get in contact with me, either about what I've just presented, what I'm doing with my business, or if you personally would like to get some feedback or help, these are two ways of contacting me. One is via my company, and drop me an email, tineke@bdfc.nl, or have a look at my LinkedIn profile, where you find more information on what I've done, and I regularly share updates on both my activities as well as things that I'm seeing. I also have a great passion for STEM and inspiring youngsters, so please feel free to join me, connect, and hopefully I can also learn from you guys and you can inspire me. So I just want to check if, with this presentation, a couple of minutes left, if there are any questions that might be coming up. There is one question specifically from someone who is pursuing right now a bachelor's degree in construction engineering and interested in aerospace. Is it possible for me to pursue further studies? Absolutely. I would say the aerospace industry is not only for aerospace engineers. With the different things that we deal with in our business, we also need people with business admin, we need engineers from different fields, different backgrounds, because I truly believe that with a diverse team, we can come to the best results for the industry. So whether or not you've got a business degree, or you come from an arts academy, or you studied psychology, we need to know what our passengers want on board. So don't think that the aerospace industry is just an industry for people with an engineering degree. It absolutely offers also opportunities for people who have not either pursued a bachelor's or master's or even PhD in aerospace engineering. I'm also getting a question, when do I expect the industry to be back to normal and revive after COVID-19? I think the person who has that answer has a golden ticket. What we're seeing right now is that in different countries, starting basically 15th of June for a lot of countries, so slowly when we'll see it being picked up. And of course, it also depends on when we'll get vaccination and how the virus will behave itself in the months to come. I'm very optimistic in the sense that I believe that if we keep the virus under control, especially here in Europe, that's what we're slowly seeing, that we're getting on top of it, that we'll be able to pick back up the industry, and that at least, of course, we'll need a year or more to get back to the old numbers. So it won't be months, but I definitely think within a year, 3 years to come, that we'll be back at where we were. Let's see if there are any more questions coming in. If not, then I would really like to thank you for joining me, for listening in, and I hope that I've been able to share some interesting information for you. I wish you a really great rest of the conference, and please feel free to contact me and ask any questions or approach me for whatever info you might need. And stay safe, stay healthy, and let's inspire each other to become even better in the future to come. Thanks.